LinkedIn Live at Women on Boards. Today we've gone south. We have gone way south and we are in Tasmania. We're talking about driving change from the top and how leadership and community impact is being exercised at a very old organisation, the Royal Automobile Club of Tasmania, or RACT as we will refer to it from now on. So in this interview, I'm going to speak with Alison Flakemore, who's the president of RACT, and Karen Nylander, who's the deputy president of the RACT. And of course, for those of you who are Tasmanian, you will know it's a trusted and iconic Tasmanian organisation. 200,000 plus members. I reckon that's more than half the state. But it's one that's undergoing significant transformation and change, as are many of our older organisations, seeking to appoint some new non-executive directors to the board this year. So we're really looking to have a chat with these two all about that, and this might be an opportunity that some of you might like to think about. So hi Alison and hi Karen, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Claire.
Okay, so let's start with your own stories. We've established you're both Tasmanians, but what motivated first you, Alison, to take on the role of president at RACT, and what keeps you inspired about this?
Thanks, Claire. It's all about RACT first and foremost, and the fact that it's such a wonderful for-purpose organisation and such a Tasmanian iconic organisation. So for me, what motivated me was to be involved in such an organisation. RACT, as you've mentioned, has a large membership, is a mutual organisation, one of the largest mutual organisations within Tasmania. And it's one of the trusted brands, in fact, the most trusted brand within Tasmania, and has held that mantle for a number of years. So, why wouldn't anyone want to be associated with such an iconic brand in the first instance? But I guess in terms of being involved with the board, I, in my objectives, seek to both contribute and learn when I'm participating in something such as board participation, and that's what I've aimed to do in my role at RACT. So contributing my professional skills, my background is in audit and assurance, but also learning, and that's something that I think RACT is particularly strong in developing board CPG and encouraging learning opportunities. And the organisation itself, of course, has evolved. I've been involved a number of years, and that change process and diversity of the organisation also facilitates lots of learning opportunities in that, whilst contributing your professional experience and skills around the board table.
Thanks, Alison. Karen, you come from a different angle because you're from a media background.
Yeah, so a media background, love Tassie. So my way of contributing to my state and making the community, or contributing to the community, I guess, is through non-exec director board. I was very fortunate. So for 25 years, I've been running parallel to my media PR career. I was appointed to my first board by then Premier Jim Bacon, who was, pioneering younger women diversity. He sort of led the way in 2000. So I was appointed and then thought, I better go and do the AICD course and find out what this is all about. So I've taken that, and parallel with my professional career, I've served on a variety of boards in that 25 years, and that's how I contribute. I love Tassie. RACT, I'm only 2.5 years into the journey with RACT. And what interested me was that it was a 100-year-old business, but was modernising and transforming and being relevant, trying to be relevant, owned by its members. And that was exciting to look and say, okay, let's be part of that journey of getting it, modernising it for the next step, I guess. So, and the other thing I loved was the purpose, which is a shoulder to lean on and a voice when it matters.
Yeah, I like that.
That spoke to me, and brand and marketing PR is my background outside of media. I finished in the media, so I really focused. So for me, I loved that. I thought that epitomised a sort of what being part of a mutual and member-owned organisation is all about for the community. So that resonated. So I thought I better investigate this, and I've loved my time so far.
So in terms of that transformation, people often think of Royal Automobile Clubs as sort of, British racing green and lots of fine dining. But it sounds as though you're really transforming the organisation, and it's becoming modern, very purpose-driven. It's obviously very member-focused. So what does that transformation look like, and what is the journey that the board is taking the organisation on? I might go to you first, Alison.
Certainly. Our transformation is really about maintaining relevance for the members. So if we think about the fact that RACT is a mutual organisation with the members at the heart of every decision that we make, and every mutual started based on addressing needs of members. And so as those needs of members evolve, we need to evolve with it. And so it's about the board recognising that we need to move with those times and evolve to address the changing needs of members. And so what that really means is, we've come from a traditional background of being a motoring club, and many other motoring clubs, equally would have been looking at the need to remain relevant and the changes that are happening in our environments around us. So we've evolved from that to be having a broader purpose, and we've done so based on what the members are telling us. And our members are telling us that they're concerned about community resilience and connecting communities. And so the transformation is really positioning us with the foundations to move into the next phase of doing so. So specifically, the things that we're doing in transformation in our centenary year just recently, we started a number of initiatives, and one of those is modernising our digital capacity and capability. Another is expanding on our community impact. And the third would be strengthening our role as an advocate in Tasmania to be broader and aligned with those needs that the members are expressing to us.
And of course, Karen, you bring that marketing lens to that, and I think that's probably, one of the reasons that you were appointed to the board, yes?
Yeah, around that customer brand marketing piece, definitely, because, sure, you can have the platforms, the technology, obviously all of that has to be invested in and needed to be invested in. But we can be a very powerful force in a small community like Tasmania is a small island state. We're a major player and the number one brand. And I don't think from an advocacy point of view, we can play a really important role beyond just our, insurance and mobility and roadside assistance. We've got that there, as you rightly say, that's, traditional. What else can we be, and where else can we grow? How can we diversify and offer more products? Because we are trusted. So definitely this is about modernising not just the platforms and the technology, but using that power for good as a major player in the community, advocating on things that matter.
It's certainly an enviable position that you and some of the other automobile clubs are in fact in, and so it's quite a responsibility really, is what to do with that weight of history, all of those members, the trusted brand, and all of those reputational things that you bring. So there's just so much opportunity when you think about it from that point of view. And you've got a number of NED vacancies are currently open, which is a significant moment for the RACT's governance. So what are you looking for in the next board member or the next board members?
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, we're looking for individuals that have both the professional excellence, but also the passion for the full purpose of RACT. So the board annual process, including the assessment using our board skills matrix, has identified some specific skills which no doubt listeners are particularly interested in. It is quite a number, so it includes technology, legal, financial, risk, advocacy, and particularly insurance. So that from the technical perspective, other attributes are obviously very important that we seek out in board members. The alignment to the for-profit purpose and particularly member decision focus. But also in such a transformational change, having experience in organisational change would be a desirable attribute. And also embracing our transparency and diversity and inclusion aspects. They're the criteria that would predominantly be what we're looking for. And I guess it's considered from a renewal perspective on our annual basis. We've got a board that's a combination of member elected and board appointed roles. As I've just described that list of skills that we are looking for, it's part of that annual cycle in which we go through that assessment where we both challenge ourselves, but look for the optimal combination and composition for the future of RACT. So it's based on our assessment. But this year is particularly a large number of skills that we've listed there and opportunity, because this year we have 2 board members who are coming to the end of term, myself included. And so there will definitely be 2 vacancies that are available, and amongst that assessment process, we'll consider that and balance out the continuity and renewal processes in the assessment of roles.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you've got a 9-member board, and I understand 6 are member elected, as I understand it as well. And so that's a really nice balance, I think, to have those 3 independents that are can be appointed to fill skills gap. Karen, how did you come on to the board?
I was a member elected, and so it's 3-year cycle. So my term, first term, will be coming up for renewal. Hence why we've got this number of, so I will be standing again, as will the other 2 member appointed. But as Alison said, there'll be 2 vacancies, plus we've got a separate insurance board. So 3 of us, the 3 on the insurance board from the group board, to have that line of sight and overlap from a governance point of view, and 3 independent insurance specialist directors. So that's why we have a 9-member group board, because of that, the need to. We're in transformation from a governance point of view as a board too. It's been a really good journey from being a more representative of the state and the much bigger board, to now being on a journey again to being more obviously skills based and much more strategically focused, and that. But nine as a group board is on the larger side, but that's because of the importance and specialists of the insurance and the need to incorporate that into our governance.
Yeah, and the fact that you're a very large organisation. I mean, 200,000 members is a large member organisation. So whilst that board may look big, I would argue there's probably plenty of jobs for everyone, which brings me to my next question. What does your sort of board calendar look like? Do you meet monthly? You've got a number of committees, I'm assuming. What could people expect?
Yeah, so, well, it's the normal sort of meeting schedules, if you like. There's a couple of months we don't, but in terms of, there's roughly 20 meeting days throughout the year that are formal days, and that includes, we've got 4 subcommittees. So that's, all directors are involved pretty well in 2 of those usually. So that's an additional, we try and have a good schedule. So there's over a couple of days we get, or 1.5 days, we get through a lot. So that's sort of how the sort of annual planning cycle, if you like, is built around this, the quarterly strategic reporting, all of that normal financial and governance side of things. So there's the normal sort of array of commitment there in terms of a board. But we also have skills development and stakeholder engagement opportunities, which again, we try and tie around meetings. So it's usually a combination of the normal performance and governance reporting and oversight, and then some stakeholder engagement and skills development as well. We'll always, AI, for instance, is a focus this year for us, as most boards around Australia, I would have thought, but certainly we're looking at that. So there'll be a particular area that will, for insurance, obviously we need to be across that. So there are areas of commitment that and education as part of it as well.
Great. Just looking at some of our listeners here, Lucy's saying it's great to see a Tassie board featured on WOB today, and I agree. As somebody who lived in Tasmania, can I say I'm very fond of the state as well. But to you, Alison, is it only people who are from Tasmania who can apply for the board? I understand that for member elected roles, you would have to be a member in order to stand, and that would be obvious. But yes. What about for the independent appointed ones? Is it only people who live in Tasmania?
It's desirable that people are either reside in Tasmania or have a strong connection to Tasmania. But based on the structure that Karen's described, what we typically find, and particularly noting that one of the skill sets that I've outlined is insurance, we commonly find that, seeking that technical experience in insurance does find us having board members in those roles in particular that are sourced from mainland, and we do have a model where those members participate committees via the hybrid technology and face-to-face for board meetings and workshops. So it's not limited to Tasmania, but we are seeking, an understanding of, the Tasmanian context, the role of RACT in that context, but coupled importantly with those skills.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to bring in the other question here for you, Karen, and you both touched on this actually, how our big Tassie organisations should do good while they do good business. And this is clearly part of the transformation. Can you just flesh that out slightly in terms of what that might look like in terms of some of the projects?
Absolutely, and that's at the core of RACT. I mean, the history is the roadside assistance. It's why
that's for helping people.
That's for so it's in the DNA of RACT that you can't fudge that. That is in the DNA of the business. We're looking to grow and diversify the platform because you can't rest on your laurels. Insurance isn't enough in itself. We have a customers wanting to do more with us. So that's where the future lies. But it's in the DNA of RACT, is in this helping. And we have very strong community programs of assistance and the way during crises, how we roll that out. We're on the ground. We are face-to-face. They're things that you may not get in the bigger states, but we can do it here. So it very much is something that is absolutely, whether we're giving financial support or in-kind support or the way we roll out the services. We just opened a new concept store in our Eastlands shopping centre in Hobart. Other businesses, organisations, industries might be shutting things. We're opening. So our footprint's increasing. So besides digital, which is of course important, but still the face-to-face and that on the ground is a very important part of what we do. So I think we're trying to get that right, and I think that's very much a part of our DNA.
Sounds like an exciting opportunity for people wanting to be part of that process. Heidrick & Struggles is managing this for you. The vacancy is listed on the Women on Board's website and is available elsewhere as well. Do make sure you take a look at it. You will want to get on with that though, because the closing date is Monday, the 30th of June. Clearly, the nominations committee on the board is wanting to move on with this process. So don't delay by getting your application in. Any further inquiries, you can of course take a look at the RACT website, and you can look at Women on Boards as well. Alison and Karen, thank you very much for that little vignette, that little snapshot about the RACT today. Thanks both.
Thank you very much.